the area, sir, that you identify, that you believe will be the focus of this visit and will help further cement strategic ties between India and the United States? Because a lot of concern amongst the Indian strategic affairs community really being that this is a visit more to do with domestic politics in America, more to do with job creation in America, than it is about furthering Indo-US strategic ties.
Well, I think on the president's side, he needs to get across to the Indian public at large that the United States views India as a strong strategic partner, a partner important for America's interests, a country whose democracy we respect, a country whose economic development we fully support and understand. And on the Prime Minister's side, looking to the United States to send a signal that India seeks a partnership in her own terms. She wishes a good and strong relationship with the United States. She recognizes that things have changed between the two of us and that the future is going to be a very prosperous one if we stick together, communicate closely, set common objectives.
Okay, there are lots of factors taking and tearing the Indo-US relationship apart, but the one factor that could bring this relationship together like none other could be rising China. So will the fear of a rising China be the one factor that brings India and the United States closer together? Chandan Mitra, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't really know. I don't think that, you see, this is how diplomacy works. It's not a question of that mutual concern about China is going to bring India and the US closer, because our concerns with China are somewhat different from America's concerns about China. And America always likes to play both sides. I don't think that America is going to, make a pitch for India to join America in a big kind of battle against China or containing China and so on. Nothing of the sort. And America is pretty well known for its double standards. I mean, the way it has handled human rights issues in Tibet and the kind of, I would say, moralizing it does on human rights in India, Jammu and Kashmir in particular, just shows that, America's policies are determined by the economic strength of the country concerned and how much business America can do with that country. There's too much American business involved in China, American money involved in China, Chinese money involved in America, for them to take a very drastic line in this regard.
But Professor Ganguly, the first year of the Obama presidency began with the sense that America thought that Washington and Beijing together could rule the world. China has done several things over the last few months that has queered that pitch in several senses. Do you see, because China is asserting itself economically and militarily, that's something that America is worried about, India is apprehensive, and that could really bring the two nations together?
I don't think the administration actually believed that in this concept of a G2. If I'm not mistaken, this was an idea that was promoted by Zbigniew Brzezinski, a former national security advisor. And then somehow it took on enormous popular currency in certain parts of the American press and to a large degree in India. But it was never formally endorsed as American policy. And then I think you're quite right. President Obama went to Beijing and was treated with a certain amount of frostiness. And he was also perceived by certain quarters in the United States as being much too deferential towards China. And more recently, other incidents that you've alluded to, particularly questions about the South China Sea and maritime disputes there, have raised significant concerns in the United States about how China intends to use its greater economic and military prowess, thereby giving some pause to the administration. Now, to go back to what Chandunda was saying, that, this whole notion that India and the United States could probably work to contain China when he thought it was a poor idea. I actually happen to share that view with him. But that said, I think it is possible to have strategic cooperation between India and the United States to think about sort of possible uncertainties associated with the rise of China, essentially keeping one's powder dry without making too much of a public outcry on this issue.